My name's Robert Drake. Go by Drake. Just go by my last name. From Washington State, out in Tacoma. Graduated high school in '96. Had no discipline in my life. Was like, I probably need to do something. Was bouncing from job to job. Joined the Marine Corps in '98, and my brain thought, I'm going to join the Marines. It's the hardest group. What should I do? Let's go infantry. We did one deployment where we just visited some countries, and then on September 11th, we were in Darwin, Australia, getting very drunk when Shore Patrol came through, and they said, get out of the bars, get back to the ships, that America had been attacked. We sent them some festive fingers and said, yeah, we're not doing that. And the bars turned the TVs on, and we realized it wasn't a drill. And then we all headed back to the ship. And a couple months later, we wound up back on the ship, and I think it was for about 20 days or so. And then we went into Pakistan and then up into Afghanistan. Yeah, we were the second set of American troops. There were some small groups that went in, secured some stuff, and then we went into Camp Rhino. Held that area, and went up to Kandahar, held that area, and came back home. So when I got back, wound up back stateside, 2 days after getting back stateside, I had my DD-214 in my hand. All I did was fill some paperwork out, turn some gear in, and they said, all right, have a good life. See you out there. So we were not at a time where there was any sort of exit interviews or there was no support on, yeah, you're going back to your civilian life. Things may not be the same. So we didn't really have much support at that time. Wasn't proud of a lot of the stuff I did. So I turned to the bottle, started drinking extremely heavily. That escalated to drug use, and anything I could do to calm my brain, to keep the nightmares at bay. Became a very hardcore drug addict. Fortunately, I found my way out of my addiction. So when I was no longer in the depths of my addiction, things came back, and I just became very proficient at compartmentalizing and pushing everything down. I definitely was depressed. It wasn't until a couple of years later that they changed the language again, because it used to be shell-shocked, and then it was combat fatigue, and then they changed it to like Gulf War syndrome. So it was a couple of years before I was out that they even came up with the term PTSD. But I would go to work and have people say like, yeah, that dude's got PTSD. And I was like, fuck you, no I don't. Don't talk to family members about it. Don't talk to friends. Cut off all of the friends that I served with except for one. It became a very siloed and lonely life. Last year, my depression and PTSD turned into suicidal ideation and intent and a plan. I was going to jump on my motorcycle and ride my motorcycle into a semi-truck so that my wife could get the life insurance and so that it would look like an accident. I had called the VA, called the VA crisis number, spent an hour on the phone with them, talked about my ideation, my plan, and my intent. They said, somebody will call you in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. It's a half-hour phone call. They say, we'll get you into a group CBT, cognitive behavior therapy group, in 2 months. So thanks, VA. I'm pretty much going to be fucking dead by then. called my friend. We just happened to be talking. He was going to be coming to H.O.O.V.E.S. And this was in between that second call and that 2 months out for group therapy. He said that he didn't know if there were any more spots open, but he would ask them some questions here for me. I called H.O.O.V.E.S, talked to them, and they said, well, we've got some stuff that you would need to fill out, but we do have a spot open. I filled everything out that night. By the next day, I got in the time off work. It was like a Thursday. The intensive started the following Tuesday. I flew out that Monday, got here Tuesday, and I'm still here today because of the tools and stuff that I learned at H.O.O.V.E.S. When I came to H.O.O.V.E.S, my thought was I'm going to sit in the background. I'm going to reconnect with my best friend one last time and go home and kill myself. I didn't actually have intentions to come here to save my life. It was more of a final goodbye to my best friend. I got here, I sat down at the table, and I looked around at this group of people and I said to myself, well, fuck it, I'm here. I'm never going to see these people ever again in my life. Say whatever's on my mind. Let's jump in the deep end and see how it goes. I never thought I would use as much Kleenex as I did. There were definitely, when I read the website, I was like, okay, we're going to be around horses. There's a bee farm, or there's beehives here that are being taken care of, and I could sleep outside. And I was like, no, I'm not sleeping outside. I'm sleeping inside. Like, I'm not sleeping in the hut. Just keep me in the big house. It definitely had an air of what I think is referred to as woo-woo stuff that didn't make sense, but it was a screw it, I'm here, might as well take advantage of the time. It was funny because I had flown in, so I got off of the shuttle that had brought us here. And I get out and I see Mikey and I just recognized him instantly. And I walked up and I just stood there and stared at him. And he looked over and he did like a double take. And I was like, dude, you're not going to say hi to me? What's up with that, bro? And he's like, shit, I didn't. And we just got up and hugged. I hadn't seen the dude in like 20 years, but you would have thought that we were just hanging out last weekend. So there was a big reconnection there. And everybody, it wasn't that first night, but the following day, the entire group was just open and people were willing to share their stories and dig deep and just peel back those layers. So when one person shares their story, it can have an impact. When the second person shares their story, that impact builds. And contrary to the way I was raised, apparently crying is okay. So yeah, just, again, I'm not going to see these people ever again in my life. What's it matter if I cry a little bit now? The horses are so unique. So it's this, I don't know how much they weigh, 1,500 pounds, 2,000 pounds, just huge creature that everything in your body says, like, I should probably not be in this arena with these horses that are just loose and they're coming up and they're sniffing you, and you realize how gentle they are. And there's a curiosity and, I don't know, I would say like an innocence to them. At the time, I was very not spiritual. I used to say that I left God in Afghanistan. When I came here, there was something spiritual about it. And that connection that you can make with the horse, you can sync your breathing to the horse. You can put your hands on a horse and it feels like you're being grounded back to the earth. And not that they can take your pain away, but that they can help guide you through the pain that you may have experienced. Horses are able to, just through body movements, give you messages. Sounds crazy. Does not sound like it's a thing. It is a thing. It is a thing. Trust me. And if you're watching this, I wouldn't believe me either, but it is. The They say that like the horse reflects who you are. I've heard it said that way. And for me, it's the horse gives you the message that you need to hear. You just have to be open to hearing it. You can see when other people go through and the horse gives them a message that you're like, okay, are they just taking that message and trying to pigeonhole it into their experience or what they need to hear? But when you're standing there and the horse taps on one hoof, and that hoof is the back hoof, which means it's something in your past and it has to deal with family, and that's the exact thing that you've set your intention to work on, you can't deny it. You can't sit in that moment and be like, no, this isn't real. It's the proof is in the pudding, and it's really tasty pudding. It was day 3 where I really started to break down the internal walls and what I had done and was using to push people away. But I still hadn't regained my zest for life until there's another program here called Miles to Freedom, where Justin Held will take you out on a bike ride, and I think it's the 4th morning. We got on those bikes and there was something transformative about just riding a bike. There was such innocence and pure joy in riding the bike that it reminded me how much there is to live for life. And the fresh air, the exercise. When we came back, he took a picture of me, which I use as my avatar on a bunch of things. And I continued down the driveway, and I just had to pull the bike off to the side, and I dropped down to my knees and I just started bawling because I was so happy. And it broke that want to not be here anymore. And it just so happens that everything is set up in a very structured way so that these pieces feed onto these pieces that feed onto these pieces. So that afternoon was even more impactful. So I was able to share the story of when I was 4 or 5 years old. My best friend at the time, his dad and his mom were divorced. His dad had picked him and me up in pickup truck, and we were supposed to go off and do, I don't remember what. We pull up to a field. His dad gets out, gets my best friend out of the truck, reaches into the glove box, pulls out a revolver, points it at me, and tells me that if I tell anybody what's happened, that he's going to kill me and he's going to kill my whole family. Takes my friend off to the woods. They come back a little bit later, my friend's bawling. Ask what happened. They wouldn't say anything. Took me back home. So I kept that completely secret, didn't talk to anybody about it for months on end. Eventually I did wind up sharing that with some family members. The dad got in a whole bunch of trouble. I don't remember what the extent of it. Again, I was just a kid. But what had happened at such a young age had set the precedence in my life for where I felt the need that I had to protect everybody. That became my thing. When I was in 15 or 16 years old, I was at a park up in LA. A shooting happened and I ran towards the bullets instead of away from it. When my family and friends were dropping to the ground, I ran towards it, applied pressure to this kid until their buddy came up in a minivan and took him off. So it was, what branch am I going to join? I'm going to join the Marine Corps because they're the hardest mother duckers out there. I'm going to do the infantry because it's my opportunity to protect. But I had carried that with me. I had talked to my family a little bit about it at the time, but didn't get any therapy for it, didn't get any sort of conversations through it, and just kind of tucked that away in the back of my head. And I was able to sit down with somebody, have them hold space, listen to my story of something that had happened that was traumatic to me, and just kind of understand. They didn't give me feedback. They didn't do anything to try to help me or save me, to just be there and listen. And that's not something that we get a lot nowadays. Everybody wants to step in and help. They want to fix you. They want to stop you from having the emotional journey that you have to have from the start to the end so that you can get the closure of the emotional state. Because once you get through the emotional state, then you can start doing the work to reframe things. Like what happened to me as a kid actually had so many benefits. It led to so many great things in my life and so many great characteristics. It was horrible at that time, but I can look back at it now and see what a positive impact it had. So when they teach you a tool like that, you're able to go through your life and do the work, look at all of those experiences you've had in your life that have been negative, that when it happens, you just see the horrible, that you can start finding the good in all of those things. And when you can find the good, you can see the positive impact it's had on your life, and you can make that transformative change of, yeah, it still happened, still wasn't great, but dang if good things didn't happen because of it. Very fortunate, have a very supportive wife. She listened to, what happens at H.O.O.V.E.S stays at H.O.O.V.E.S, but the stuff I shared, she said that she could definitely notice a change, that I was more positive, that there was an air about me, and that I just seemed lighter. And then I had improvements in work, improvements in my mental health, wound up still doing my VA appointment stuff. And I watched as the VA would take worksheets in an hour-long group session, pull people from their pull up their trauma and say, okay, we're done for the week, with no tools on how to deal with what they had just pulled up, which was such the polar opposite of what I experienced here. It made me feel very sad for those veterans that were getting their emotions pulled up like that, and just reinforced how special H.O.O.V.E.S is. So when I got home, I took my notebook and I just would go through my notebook and I would be like, all right, I'm going to look at this experience in my life. I'm going to look at this experience. I would find those positive affirmations to my I am statements, like I am loved, I am powerful, I am strong. And finding the truth and the value in those, not just the Instagram happy version of people of ooh, here's a daily affirmation, where it's just bullshit. Because it's just somebody trying to feed you or sell you something. So I did the work, had a number of challenges come up where I would do the work, I'd get through the situation, and then I could reach back out to H.O.O.V.E.S and be like, hey, Amanda, I did this, and this is where I'm at, but this is where I did the work, and this is... and she would always take the time and reach back out and be like, I'm really proud of you. You definitely did it. And it wasn't just Amanda. I could do that with Katie, reached out to Justin, planned a huge bike ride. So it's more than just a clinical setting. It's more than just getting your shit stirred up and then being kicked to the road. It's, if you do the work, there's a family here. And they will support you even after you go past the gates. I got out in 2003, and it was 2024 when I came to H.O.O.V.E.S. Over 20 years.
Over 20 years of literally putting yourself through hell in a fucking bike ride.
I know, in a fucking bike ride. Seriously, a bike ride. I got more enjoyment off of that bike ride than I did riding my motorcycle. And I can go way faster on my motorcycle. But I had a motorcycle that I would peg as fast as it would go. That bike only got me 99 miles an hour. So I went and bought a bigger bike that 134 was the max it could do. And when I was going to leave here, I was going to buy a liter bike just so that I could go even faster. Because I used drugs to numb myself. But the drugs that I were using was giving me a sensation that I equated to having feelings. When I stopped that, I just went baseline. People said, dude, you're so mad. And I was like, I'm not mad. I'm just fucking dead inside. I don't care. The motorcycle gave me the adrenaline, that gave me the dopamine, that made me think I was alive, but I still wanted to kill myself. I go on a bike ride that's not even doing more than 10 or 11 miles an hour, and it was the freest sensation I've ever had. Like, I'm not even going down a steep hill, like doing anything dangerous. I'm just going on a leisurely bike ride with some people. And it was transformative. It was changing. And I know transformative is one of those like hip keywords to try to use, but there was a huge shift in me. We went back, we did a kind of little, everybody goes around the table and says kind of what their experiences was if they feel so inclined. And I just was like, fine, fuck it. No more walls. Like, here we go. And I believe Katie and Amanda both were like, yeah, there's a change in you. Like, I think, Katie a couple of times has said like, yeah, you were the John Wick of the group. You were just like, I'm going to get like, but yeah, it's like smiling and like my cheeks would hurt because like I haven't used these muscles in my face in such a long time. So yeah, I came back from that bike ride a different person than I'd woken up that morning. Because I've seen the evidence of what actually works, I want to find a way to give back. Because there's a great Bill Murray movie, Scrooged, and at the end he's like, if I can feel this way, you can feel this way, everybody can feel this way. So if I can come back from where I was, anybody has the potential to come back from where they are. So I reached out to Amanda and to Katie, and I was like, I want to come back. I definitely want to come back as an alumni. I've done all this work, but I just want to give back to H.O.O.V.E.S in some way. What can I do? So they actually brought me back as a mentor. And I had a unique opportunity this time through H.O.O.V.E.S to step my game up a little bit, to offer some mentorship, to certainly not do it anything to the level of what Amanda or Katie were doing or Tiffany were doing. But there were times when speaking with some of the other people that were coming through H.O.O.V.E.S that I was able to help them through the tools that we've learned, not by saving them, but by making sure that they're understanding the tool and they're using this tool the right way, because sometimes it's late at night and somebody has a question. So just being able to answer those simple questions. And I felt like, how else can I give back? So actually I'm now looking at how can I become a facilitator at H.O.O.V.E.S? So I'm looking to start some facilitator training next month, and start seeing how I can get my journey to be out here a number of times a year so that I can help make that impact, and teach other veterans the tools.
Awesome, dude.
You can't replace Amanda. You just can't. So maybe if we set up like a H.O.O.V.E.S West Coast so that during the winter season, she can come out and do H.O.O.V.E.S in Washington or Oregon or California, then yeah, absolutely. I approached it right off the bat with the mindset of I'm going to be open and I'm going to try to set the example for folks of just leave your bullshit at the door. Like, we were all in the military. You need to kick a door sometimes. Let's go in. Let's just kick the doors and let's just start it off. I think the last time I was here, I learned how to be vulnerable, and I just carried that with me. So there are definitely parts that I came in different, but I definitely got stuff out of my second time through. And I think everybody, all of the alumni that have come through, they still get something out of H.O.O.V.E.S as long as they do the work and dig deep. And it's not easy work, but it's fulfilling work. The Drake today has a mission and has a purpose. I've got goals, and my future's not going to end in a motorcycle accident. I'm a Drake with potential. I'm a Drake that sees his self-worth, knows what he has to offer, and is pursuing that.